Well, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025. We're here this afternoon for our land use hearing. I call this meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, everyone who's in person and online. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners, and with me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally and Commissioner John Kofalis. Behind us, from the clerk's office, we have Deirdre O'Neill, who's helping us with record keeping, and we have Frank Haug from the attorney's office with us. And I will pass things over to to Jenny Axmaker, our planning manager, and she'll give some further introductions and then explain the agenda and what we're going to be doing here today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joining me at the dais, we have Amy White, Code Compliance Supervisor. We have Leslie Ellis, the Director of the SIPR Group. We have Ryan Oswendell from our Planning Administrative Group. Across the way, we have David Pringle from our Engineering Department. We have Planner J.C. McNulty, and I believe joining us online, we do have a representative from the Health Department. So with that, we respectfully request that all members of the audience silence their electronic devices. Please help yourself to a copy of the agenda and hearing procedure instructions located on that wall just by the door. If you're joining us online, you can find the same thing on our website, larimer.gov/BOCC/commissioners-meetings. Please wait to speak until you're recognized by the chair. Please maintain civility, refraining from audience applause, comments, or disruptions, whether positive or negative. Anyone who is disruptive will be asked to leave the hearing. Please make all comments to the Board of County Commissioners. From the podium, we do have a portable microphone available as needed. Please state your name at the beginning of your comments and provide the spelling of your name if it's unique. Please speak directly into the microphone so that remote participants may hear. The microphone on the podium can be repositioned to best capture your testimony. Any questions may be asked during your testimony, but will not be answered until public comment has closed and the rebuttal period has begun. Upon request, we do have assisted listening devices available for the hearing impaired. For those on Zoom, attendees will be muted until they're recognized by the chair. If an online attendee wishes to speak or request that a consent item be removed, please use the raise your hand function on the Zoom control bar or *9 on the phone. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate that. Now I'll go through some additional information, including our agenda for today. We have one item on our public consent agenda, and that is the Olson Lot Consolidation and Easement Vacation, file number 25, Land 4508. And that is a request to vacate a 20-foot wide and 554.83-foot long utility easement along the common lot line between lots 14 and 15 in Pinewood Springs, 10th filing, file number 25, Land 4508. And that is the only item that we have on the consent agenda. Then we have two public hearing discussion items. Our first one is the 2025 Rubbish Ordinance Amendment, file number 25, Code 0289. And then I think the reason most people are here, our second discussion item is the Park Hospital District Petition for Service Plan Modifications. And so those are our two public hearing discussion items. So typically items on the consent agenda are considered routine in nature. And as far as we know, there's no perceived or significant controversy. Items on the consent agenda will not have a staff presentation, and the applicant will not get to speak. Therefore, there will not be an opportunity on this item for public comment unless the item is pulled from the consent agenda. Commissioners are able to pull an item from the consent agenda as well as the public, and that if that occurs, there will be a full hearing. I'll ask, would either commissioner want to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay. Is there anyone in the room who wants to pull this item from the consent agenda, the first item? And Ryan, can we ask the same online?
If there are any members of the public online who would like to remove the first item from the consent agenda, please use the raise your hand function or *9 now. No hands are raised.
Thank you, Ryan. Then we'll go ahead and take a motion to approve that item. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, will you make that motion, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move to approve the items on the consent agenda subject to the conditions in the staff reports, and further move to authorize the chair to sign their findings and resolutions.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. We will now move on to our public hearing discussion items. And as I said, the first of which is the rubbish ordinance. And I'll turn things over to Amy White, our code compliance supervisor, who will introduce this topic and will let folks know about some of the changes that we'll be making to this, to our rubbish policies. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Commissioner. Amy White, Code Compliance Supervisor. During the summer, we realized that some of the state statutes had changed and that our rubbish ordinance was no longer up to date. So we used that opportunity to bring the ordinance up to date and to also improve some of the verbiage. I will try to read as little as possible because these can go quite long. In the opening paragraph, the word debris and unincorporated were added. That paragraph will now read, "This document outlines how Larimer County compels the removal of rubbish, including trash, junk, debris, and garbage from lots and tracts of land within unincorporated Larimer County." The second whereas paragraph now reads, "Whereas the board has previously adopted local ordinances concerning the removal of rubbish from lots and tracts of land within Larimer County in both ordinance number 06-2020170001 dated December 5, 2016, and the amendment to the ordinance number 06-2020170001 dated March 11, 2019. Section 1, Authority, paragraph A will now read, "The words at sec as in effect now and hereafter amended were added after pursuant to CRS Section 30-15-401. Section 1B now reads, "The manner by which such an ordinance is enforced may be prescribed by the Board of Commissioners and may include removal of rubbish performed by Larimer County upon notice and failure of the property owner to remove the rubbish. Pursuant to CRS Section 30-15-401.1.A.I.A is in effect now and hereafter amended. The reasonable costs incurred from such removal by Larimer County may be assessed upon the tracts and lots from which rubbish has been removed and collected in the same manner as other taxes." Section 2, Purpose, will now read, Board of County Commissioners of Larimer County, Colorado finds and declares that controlling and eliminating the accumulation of rubbish within unincorporated Larimer County is necessary to preserve the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Larimer County. The accumulation of rubbish, if not controlled and eliminated, can result in visual blight, attractive nuisances, incompatibility with existing land use, attraction of disease-infested rodents and other vermin, fire and other fire hazards, depositing of hazardous or toxic substances in unapproved sites, air, noise, and water pollution, and negative impacts to property values. Section 2 is now revised to be Section 3, Scope of Ordinance. Now reads, "This ordinance shall apply within the unincorporated territory of Larimer County, Colorado. However, pursuant to CRS Section 30-15-401.1.A.I.A, this ordinance shall not apply to industrial tracts of land that are 10 acres in size or to agricultural land currently in agricultural use as defined in this ordinance." Section 4, Definitions. A, agricultural lands shall have the meaning as set forth in CRS Section 39-1-102 1.6. E, Larimer County Community Development Director is the designated Larimer County employee with the authority under this ordinance to pursue rubbish violations. Larimer County Community Development Director may designate their authorities under this ordinance to other Larimer County employees in their discretion. Definitions, paragraph G. Rubbish means any trash, junk, garbage, litter, refuse, debris, scrap, unlicensed or inoperable motor vehicles or mobile or manufactured homes, unlicensed or inoperable recreational vehicles, RVs, dead animal carcasses, and any object or material which causes or is likely to cause a public hazard or nuisance. Rubbish does not include collectors' items properly stored in accordance with CRS Section 42-12-402 as in effect now and amended hereafter. Section 5, added to this, will now read violations of this ordinance. Section 6 will now read procedure for notice of violations of this ordinance. Paragraph A. If probable cause exists to believe that violation of this ordinance has occurred, notice of the violation shall be sent by the Larimer County Community Development Director or their designee as follows. Paragraph B will now read, the notice shall A, provide a description of the violation and measures required to correct the violation, B, establish a correction deadline of 30 days from the notice date. The Larimer County Community Development Director may, at their sole discretion, modify this time frame as follows. I, extended deadline. Grant additional time when circumstances warrant with the revised deadline clearly stated in the notice, or II, require immediate correction when the violation poses an immediate threat to public health, safety, or welfare with the accelerated timeline and justification specified in the notice. Paragraph C, include a statement informing the property owner that if they believe that the notice has been issued in error or without just cause, the property owner may request in writing no later than 7 business days after the date of the notice a hearing before the Board of County Commissioners in order to obtain a written determination from the board whether the condition of the property violates this ordinance. Almost done. Paragraph 1, there were just some grammatical errors, capitalizing P in property owner and the O, and then also indicated the numeral 7 after 7 business days. Same thing in 2, same thing in 3. Section 7, Administrative Entry and Seizure Warrant, Statutory Authority. Pursuant to CRS Section 30-15-401.1.A.I.A, if the violation of this ordinance is not fully corrected within the time period established in the written notice of violation as prescribed in Section 6 of this ordinance, or within the time period established in the board's written determination if a hearing was requested, the Larimer County Community Development Director or their designee, without further notice to the property owner, may initiate proceedings for an administrative entry and seizure warrant through the District or County Court of Larimer County, authorizing Larimer County to enter the property and remove the rubbish. Paragraph B. Requirements for filing of a petition. Pursuant to CRS Section 30-15-401.1.A.I.A, in seeking an administrative and seizure warrant, a sworn or affirmed affidavit shall be presented to the court which sets forth the factual basis for the warrant as follows. A general description of the location of the property. B, documentation establishing property ownership, including the owner of record as shown in the Larimer County Assessor's records, and identification of any additional parties with legal interest in the property. C, evidence that the property is located in unincorporated Larimer County. D, evidence that the property is not an industrial tract as defined by this ordinance that is 10 or more acres in size. Evidence that the property is not agricultural land currently in agricultural use as defined by CRS Section 39-1-102 1.6. F, a general description of any rubbish to be removed from the property. G, evidence that the property owner has received notice of the violation and has failed to abate the violation within the time prescribed by this notice. H, a proposal about whether the rubbish to be removed should be disposed of or temporarily impounded. C, execution of the warrant. Pursuant to CRS Section 30-15-401.1.A.I.B, within 10 days following the date of issuance of an administrative entry and seizure warrant, the board by and through Larimer County forces contract agent or otherwise, shall execute the warrant in accordance with the directions of the issuing court. C will now read proof of the execution of such warrant, including a written inventory of any property impounded by the executing authority, shall be submitted to the court by the board. D is now disposal and impoundment. E is costs of removal. All reasonable costs associated with the removal of rubbish and impoundment, if ordered by the court, shall be paid by the property owner. B, a bill of costs shall be mailed to the property owner and payment in full shall be made within 30 days, shall be due within 30 days of the date of the bill. C, in the event that the bill remains unpaid as of the deadline outlined in section 7.E.B above, the cost may be assessed as a lien against the property until paid and shall have priority over all other liens except general taxes and prior special assessments, and such costs, together with a 10% penalty for collection expenses, shall be certified to the Larimer County Treasurer for collection in the same manner as other taxes are collected. D, the laws of the state of Colorado for assessment and collection of general taxes, including the laws for the sale and redemption of property taxes, shall apply to the collection of assessments pursuant to this section 7. E, the Board of County Commissioners, in their sole discretion, may waive such fees. Section 8, other remedies. Nothing in this ordinance shall be construed or to limit or restrict the board's ability to pursue other remedies available under the Larimer County regulations or pursuant to state or federal law. The remedies provided in this ordinance are not exclusive in any way and may be pursued by the board singly or in combination to achieve the most expeditious resolution of the accumulation of rubbish. Section 11 is supersession. This ordinance supersedes and replaces all prior Larimer County ordinances concerning rubbish accumulation and removal. And I'm done.
Thank you, Amy. People got to learn a lot about rubbish today, so this is how the sausage is made. Commissioners, any questions? Is there anybody in the public who would like to give or anybody in the audience who would like to give public comment on this item? All right, I don't see any hands raised. Let's see if there's anyone online.
If there are any members of the public online who would like to speak on this item, please use the raise your hand function now. We have no hands raised.
Thank you. So Amy, did you have any follow-up?
Yes, I would just like to say that this will now be published for the requisite 30 days, and then I will be back on December 12th, and hopefully if there are no corrections or questions about the rubbish, we just read the title, and then we're done with this, and it will become effective.
Wonderful. Yeah. I mean, really important quality of life for our residents, quality of life issue, and so I'm grateful for the changes that you brought forward. And Commissioner Shattuck McNally, go ahead.
Thank you, Amy, and thanks for your diligence on this. And we had, just for the public's knowledge, we had talked about this at our CPERS work session, and we had asked some questions there. But you had said December 12th. Is it December? That's on a Friday. Are we talking about December 15th? Or which date? 8th? No, 9th.
December 9th.
Okay.
December 8th.
Okay, just checking. All right.
Thank you.
No, I was just wanted to check because we're talking to the public. So, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So it looks like we'll look forward to this coming back to us on December 8th for the vote. Thank you. All right. We will move on to our final item on our public hearing agenda, and that is the Park Hospital District petition for service plan modifications. I will turn things over to Leslie Ellis, our Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources Director. She's going to tee up this item. And then, so folks understand the process, we'll have the staff presentation. Commissioners can ask questions at that time. Then we'll bring up the applicant. We'll have the applicant be able to present for up to 10 minutes. After that, we will open it up to public comment. We'll take public comment. Members of the public would have 3 minutes to speak on this item. And then if there is any rebuttal needed, the applicant can have 5 minutes for rebuttal. And then we'll bring it back to the commissioners for final questions and then deliberation and a vote. So that is the process we're going to use today. And Leslie, I'll turn things over to you.
All right, great. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Leslie Ellis, Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources Director. And I'm here today to share information with you to consider and decide on a modification to the service district plan for the Park Hospital District in Estes Park. When in Colorado, when existing service districts amend service plans in a material way, they need to petition the Board of County Commissioners for approval of that petition. And the requirements for health districts are abbreviated, and because of the extensive licensure requirements. So we'll walk you through that today, but you have a fairly limited scope that you'll be looking at. So you're not focused on the merits of the amendment, but really just on some very specific criteria that I'll walk you through. So in this case, the applicant is the Hospital District Board, and David Snow is the attorney here from Hall Render who is representing them and will speak today. Along with, I think, one other person as well. So we received at the county the petition on October 3rd, and that started the process of review. And you can see here the location of the district in the map. It's kind of roughly coincides with the Estes Valley that you all know, and is a bit larger than that. And that has not changed as part of this service plan. So first, just a little background. This proposed merger and integration between the Park Hospital District and UC Health has been in the works for a couple of years now. Park Hospital District serves the Estes Valley region and operates Estes Park Health, including its hospital and outpatient facilities. On May 15th, at a public hearing, the Park Hospital District Board approved a new service plan to integrate the operations. Following that, the Colorado Attorney General's Office approved this plan on September 22nd, and then the parties are aiming for a December 1st closing and pending this proceeding. Under the new plan, the district will shift from directly providing health care to supporting those services through UC Health to ensure long-term quality care for residents and visitors. Also in May of 2023, the district presented ballot issue 8A to the district's eligible voters, who then approved the measure allowing Park Hospital District, Estes Park Health, to essentially enter into long-term agreements with nonprofit healthcare providers to operate, maintain, or lease the hospital and facilities without creating or raising new taxes. And it authorizes the district to commit future revenues. And that's all described in the attachment A that's part of the petition that starts on page 38 of your packet. So now we'll get to the review scope. As mentioned before, the commissioners have a fairly narrow review. Part one, which is the larger part, is the licensure compliance. And then part two is around submittal requirements. So this slide really shows the section of the statute that applies, and the health service districts have to satisfy the requirements for a state Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment license. And in this case, there is a current license that Park Hospital District holds, meeting that requirement, as well as having applied to transfer their license to the new UC Health. And then the health department at the state has conditionally approved that. The second part of submittal, part of the procedural requirements are making sure that the petition includes all the right items to meet the submittal requirements. In this case, there are 8 different requirements, and the petition included the ones that were relevant. About half of these, there's no change or no proposed anything that would be relevant, and you can see those indicated here. The district did describe the continued operations and facilities as in number 1, as well as the quality assurance in number 3. The district addresses that in the letter, noting that UC Health and Estes Valley Medical Center are required to maintain licensure and use commercially reasonable efforts to maintain the operations in the district at a substantially similar quality level as maintained for other comparable facilities. There's also a financial plan included in the petition. There's no additional proposed indebtedness, and there's a proposal to pay off the current debt. Exhibit B includes that information. This was all included, but again, it's not part of your review. And then there's also a map. The other items 2, 6, 7, and 8 really were not applicable as there weren't any changes or proposed modifications. The other procedural requirements that we're required to look at, in this case, submission to the county clerk's office. That happened on October 3rd at the same time that we received it in community development and the attorney's office. The clerk then notified the state on October 8th, proposing the hearing date of today of November 10th. We also came to the Board of County Commissioners on the 14th of October to request this hearing date. That was a statutory requirement as well. And then we reviewed and confirmed the application materials and asked for some additional information about the license, and that was then submitted. We also shared this petition with our internal reviewers and agencies that are in the geographic area or with related or overlapping services. Public noticing is a key requirement, and the noticing requirements are very specific in the statute. Those have been satisfied in that the notice of this hearing was in the Estes Park Trail Gazette on October 17th, so that met the 20-day noticing requirement ahead of this hearing. And then our county code also calls for a county special district review team to review the submissions and provide findings and recommendations. Those folks are noted on the slide here. The team met and they deferred to the statutory requirements for this review and then asked me to take the lead in preparing the report, which I did with help, of course. And so on to public comments. At the time of the publishing of the memo, we did not have any public comments. We did receive some last week, and you received an addendum, and there were 22 comments at that time that were expressing strong support for the affiliation and the merger. There weren't any opposition comments at the time. We've received, as of today, 4 additional comments in support. The themes of the support are noted here on the slide, really around the kind of the urgency for it and the kind of benefits that that folks see as part of this merger. And I can go into greater detail if you'd like. We've also received, as of about noon today, 3 comments with some concerns about transparency and accountability and requesting a condition. And those themes are noted here as well around needing further assurance that mill levy tax dollars would be appropriately used and so on. There's a request to ask to condition the approval on creation of a plan with oversight mechanisms. And I'll just note that that condition would be beyond and outside the commissioner's authority in this decision. It could be something that could be taken up with other boards, with the county attorney general's office or with the Park Hospital District Board, but it's not something that would be pertinent for the commissioner's decision today. It's outside of the review. I'll go to this slide, just reiterates the authority and criteria, which has a narrow focus on the statutory requirements, and you can see those cited up here. For health service districts, the submission of the state license satisfies the statutory criteria, review criteria. And in this case, we found that to be satisfied. The commissioners don't evaluate the merits of the amendment, and really the focus is on procedural compliance. So the 4 criteria you can see before you here, but it's really submission of the petition in the correct manner to the clerk and recorder, the petition content and the inclusion of the materials as identified in the statute, as well as the publishing and notice meeting the timeframes, and then finally the demonstration that the license meets the requirements by the state. With that, the review team finds that the petition does meet the procedural and statutory requirements for both process and notice. Those are criteria 1 through 3, as well as the license, which is criteria 4. And the review team recommends approving the petition for material service plan modification. And I have a suggested motion here that then reflects that recommendation as well. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Leslie. Any questions for Leslie? Nope. Not Commissioner Cavalas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here, and thank you, Leslie and team. I don't have any questions at this time. I'd like to hear from the applicant and public comment, and then if there's a need for rebuttal and so on. I do want to put out there, and I'm hoping the applicant can speak to the matter of how can they assure greater accountability and transparency, because I'm understanding that based on the narrow scope of what is within our authority, we are limited and we cannot require the things that have been expressed. But I'm hoping the applicants can speak to that in a way of how do we engage the community to make sure that people have that trust in this potential new merger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead,
I was
please.
just going to wait until the applicant and the public comment before I make any comments.
Of
Thank you.
course. Thank you. So we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Is that Mr. Snow? And then whoever else will speak, you can allocate your time between the two of you, and you would have 10 minutes. Welcome. And we'll just ask you to introduce yourself as well.
Yes. Hi, I'm Attorney David Snow with the law firm Hall Render. We've represented this district for years in general matters and in this transaction with UC Health. First of all, I'd like to thank Leslie and her team and Frank and Bill from the county attorney's office for their work on this. They've been a great crew to work with. And as Leslie's slides pointed out, there's a few unique rules for health districts that had to be accommodated along the way, and they've been very good to work with in this process, and we appreciate their favorable recommendation. And thank you to the commissioners for getting this on the agenda for this important event and step in the process for the Park Hospital District, and more importantly, for serving the community and its healthcare needs up in the Estes Valley. I'll give you a little bit of context here, if you don't mind. In 1968, the service plan was first approved and the district was created for the purpose of building and operating a hospital facility in Estes Park. It took them a few years and a charitable contribution, but by 1975, they had borrowed some money, got some contributions, and opened the doors on a new hospital in Estes Park for the first time. In 1982, so only a few years later, they amended their service plan. So it must have come before the commissioners at that time to get approval of a new service plan in 1982 that involves significant expansion of facilities and operations. That service plan is still what is in effect today before this amendment from 1982, so 43 years ago. Since that time, the healthcare and rural hospital landscape has undergone monumental changes, and the district has responded to that environment by adding and changing, and in some cases removing various services, but it has always maintained its core purpose and licensure from the state of Colorado to operate a hospital. Supplemental services today include clinic services for the community, ambulance, and urgent care, among other things. All of those will continue under this arrangement with UC Health. Earlier this year, the district celebrated its 50th anniversary of directly providing health care to its community. And there was a fundraising event sponsored by the foundation that raised over $300,000 for the imaging center, and that money will go for that purpose, whether it's the district or the new subsidiary of UC Health that will be operating the hospital. We're here today to request the Commissioner's approval of the amended service plan for the first time since '82, as I said, and as a result of a process that started about 3 years ago. The district board initiated a review and evaluation of how best to ensure the continuation of high-quality hospital and related services for the community, and concluded that would best be accomplished through an affiliation arrangement with a larger healthcare system. Going it alone as a small independent rural hospital is tough, and lots of them are closing around the country. The board's parameters for that arrangement included that it be with a nonprofit healthcare system, no for-profit, and that it was either Colorado-based or had large presence and operations here in Colorado. Realizing that any affiliation arrangement would require long-term financial commitments, in May of '23, the district presented a ballot issue, which Leslie's slides had mentioned, to the residents seeking authorization to enter into multi-fiscal year commitments, a TABOR resolution basically under Colorado law. And that specifically called out entering into a lease or other arrangements to continue to indirectly provide healthcare services without any increase in the tax rate. That initiative was approved by over an 80% vote of the residents. Negotiations ensued, and in October of 2024, the district and UC Health, which we've had a long-standing relationship with for many, many years, announced a letter of intent, and in May of 2025, executed definitive agreements calling for a transaction that involves transferring the district's hospital and related operations to a UC Health subsidiary via a lease and an integration or affiliation agreement, so other arrangements, as is specifically permitted for health service districts under Colorado law. UC Health will pay off the district's approximately $10 million in debt. They'll assume operations in the current locations and commit $20 million for capital improvements over the next 10 years. In September 2025, the Colorado Attorney General approved the transaction without further review or conditions under its authority under the Colorado Hospital Transfer Act. Today, we're asking the commissioners to approve an updated service plan that affects the arrangements with UC Health under the definitive agreements for the district to accomplish its health care purposes indirectly through lease or other arrangements as permitted by statute. The hospital license has been approved for transfer by CDPHE, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. All they're waiting for is the effective date, which we anticipate will be December 1. As noted in the petition and the staff report recommending approval, special rules apply to health service districts under Colorado law. Those rules provide that if CDPHE issues a license, then various aspects of the requirements are deemed to be met for creating or amending a special district, a health service district service plan. And that's been done here. Here, the license will not change. It'll still be a hospital license like it is now. It's just going to be moved to a different legal entity to continue those operations. That may not be a material change, but because the license will stay the same, but because it will be held and operated by a different legal entity, in an abundance of caution, we wanted to come before the commissioners and seek your approval of the amended service plan that's been updated. The new service plan calls out those arrangements with UC Health, includes the requisite provisions as Leslie's slides went through, and we respectfully request your approval of that. We'll stand ready to answer any questions whenever you want to, but for now, Dr. Corey Workman, chairman of the board of the district, is going to say a few words as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Welcome, Dr. Workman. We have a few minutes left.
Yes, thank you. My name is Corey Workman. I'm the chairman of the board for the Park Hospital District, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this morning. Commissioners, thank you, and to your staff, thank you very much. I've been a resident of Estes Park for about 8 years. I came to Estes Park after purchasing a practice there, and one of the important things about Estes Park for my family was to make sure that we had good health care, strong health care and education there. And this arrangement through the Park Hospital District partnering with UC Health allows us to continue, although indirectly, to provide excellent health care for the foreseeable future, up to 50 years for the foreseeable future. And one of the things that's important in my mind is from the Park Hospital District is that we continue to function as the Park Hospital District to maintain and monitor the tax dollars that are being used, and they will be making sure that they stay in Estes Park to support the Estes Valley Medical Center and to take care of our residents. We have a long history with UC Health. Prior to my time in Estes Park, they were very helpful during the floods of 2013 in providing medical care and support for the hospital. In the fires of 2020, UC Health was instrumental in helping us to evacuate patients and to take care of those systems and processes that needed to happen. One of the things that's exciting to me about bringing the Park Hospital District in line with UC Health is providing that excellent health care, providing that ability for us to indirectly continue to support the residents of Estes Park, fulfill the obligation that we have as the Park Hospital District to provide excellent health care for the Valley. As mentioned by Mr. Snow, healthcare has changed big time. There's a lot of financial pressures, and a small independent hospital can't continue to provide those high quality areas of care. We can do that with this opportunity to be a part of UC Health, which is an excellent healthcare system, as we know, in Larimer County. And we respectfully ask for the approval and the changes for our service plan to allow us to move forward and continue to take good care of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Workman. All right. Nobody wants to speak for the last 20 seconds, I assume. So I'll see if the commissioners have any questions or you want to wait till after public comment. And go ahead, Commissioner Cavallis.
Well, thank you both for your clear and succinct presentations. Very helpful. I'm wondering what I raised earlier and what has been brought to our attention. These days, trust is an important thing. And I'm wondering if either of you wish to speak to some of the points that were raised by folks from the Estes Valley. They dubbed it the Mill Levy Stewardship Plan, and they had some key provisions there. I wonder if you'd care to respond to those. How we will build greater transparency.
Yeah, Mr. Snow, you can come up.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So the definitive agreements include a requirement that the tax revenue that is turned over to the UC Health subsidiary, first of all, be used locally, has to stay in the community. And number two, that that UC Health provides an annual report to the district and eventually to the community on how those funds are used locally to support local health care. So we have contractual commitments baked into the definitive agreements that the money stays local, and there will be annual reports on how it is used for that purpose in the community. And then, of course, there are contractual enforcement rights under the definitive agreements if that's breached in any way over the term of the agreements. So there's an ability to enforce those requirements under the terms of the definitive agreements.
Well, thank you kindly, sir. I think what you've just shared addresses some of the points that were raised in their email, their information. I'm wondering the matter of perhaps you could clarify. So will there be two boards? One will oversee the health district, the hospital, the Park Hospital District. There'll be a board there, and some of the issues that were raised. Well, will there be community membership? How's that going to work? And the transparency.
Thank you for the question. So yes, there will be two boards. The current Park Hospital District board is not going to change legally. The people that are on it will change over time. through the public election process, of course. But it will continue to exist. And it has a right to nominate 2 individuals from the 5 district members to be on the board of what's going to be called UC Health Estes Valley Medical Center, the subsidiary nonprofit 501c3 tax exempt corporation that will hold the license and operate the facilities in Estes Park. And then that legal entity, the Estes Valley Medical Center, which will be a subsidiary of the UC Health system, which, you know, as you're familiar with, spans the state in a lot of ways, or at least the Front Range, and has multiple organizations, multiple corporations that provide its services. This will be the local corporation, and in addition to those 2 members nominated from the district board, there will be 3 community members, that individuals that have to reside in the community and will be appointed by UC Health with input from the community, essentially through, but appointed by UC Health. And then there'll be 2 more appointed from UC Health. So there'll be 7 people on that new company's, new corporation's board of directors, 5 from the community, 2 of whom are from the district, and 2 to make up 7 from UC Health.
Thank you. For now, you have certainly satisfied my questions.
Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you. Those were some of the questions I was going to ask later. But I do know, just for public curiosity and public concern, recently another hospital entity in this region closed down. I wouldn't say unexpectedly, but just had chose the emergency room closed kind of some of their points. And so I know it's not a purview of this plan, but there seemed to be concern about what happens to the tax money that if the inpatient hospital closes, which we hope it doesn't, because it is really a critical access kind of a needs up there. And so I'm wondering, that would, I don't know if that's even a purview, but just curious because we're getting questions from the community, I think, based on actions elsewhere that have happened recently, actually just last week.
I think this will address your question. So as indicated, the new UC Health subsidiary will take over the license with CDPHE approval, license as a hospital in Colorado. And there's a requirement baked into the definitive agreements that they maintain that licensure. Under current Colorado licensure law, to be a hospital in Colorado, you have to have an emergency room, unless CDPHE gives a waiver, which I'm not sure they've ever done, but they may have in a place or 2. But we're required now, the district, to have an emergency room, and the new subsidiary of UC Health that will take over operations will be required to maintain that license. And that license inherently requires having an emergency room. And that is one of the key services for a community like this, is maintaining an emergency room and the ambulance. Now, if something comes, they're also required to maintain the critical access hospital status that we have from the federal Medicare program. That too requires an emergency room. So those requirements, are baked into the agreement and will continue. There's an ability, it's a 50-year agreement, so there's an ability if something better comes along in terms of federal Medicare certification or state licensure, then things could change. But initially here, there's a requirement that those be maintained as is.
Thank you. I asked that question because we did get some questions from the community, so we try to ask those during the hearing. So
Sure.
To be just clear and transparent to make sure folks know that we hear their concerns and trying to bring that forward. And then when you said, I think Leslie said the no new taxes. So I know the Estes Park has their elections, and I think there was just an election for new board members last year. And so I just want to clarify for the public, there is no as far as we know, any plans for that, that district mill levies to increase without it, would there have to be an election, but there's no plan to do that at this point?
No, and we can't do that without the approval of the voters.
Yeah,
The ballot referendum that we did in 2023 specifically said authorizing entering into these multi-year fiscal commitments without any increase in taxes. So there's no anticipation of an increase. There's no promise to UC Health in the definitive agreements that the district will ratchet up the tax levy in the future or anything like that. It's capped where it is now, and that can't change without voter approval.
great. I just wanted to kind of state that for the record and appreciate you concisely explaining that. Thank you. That's
Sure.
all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Just one more question from you, Mr. Snow, and then we'll let you go. When you were talking about the kind of local corporation or the new board that will be formed, that include 2 members from the district board and 3 members from the community, can you, there was some concern about any board that was being formed that because it would be a nonprofit board, that it wouldn't be subject to things like sunshine laws or wouldn't have open public meetings. Can you speak to that at all? There again, understanding that this is not part of our purview, but that these were questions that were asked and we like to get answers for the public.
Right. Well, the district board will, of course, remain subject to all the open meetings, open records. The district, though, is going to be a landlord leasing the property to a nonprofit, Colorado nonprofit, federally tax exempt hospital corporation under 501c3. And such private nonprofit corporations are not subject to the same open meetings or open records laws. They are subject, though, to financial assistance policy rules as a charitable hospital from both the state and federal government. They have to file an IRS Form 990 every year, which is publicly available tax return that shows their revenue and expenses and compensation of officers and board members and staff, and reports lots of information about the operation. So there is public view through the IRS Form 990 and the federal obligations to make that public. You can go find them on the IRS website with a few keystrokes. So
Sure.
It's still pretty public, but it is not subject to open records and open
Okay.
meetings in
But
the
there
same
will-
way that a district is.
But there will be 2 members from the district board, and obviously the district board is people's avenue to be able to have that contact, that the public's contact with that.
Right, and the annual report that will be provided on how the tax revenue is used in the local community.
Right, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Snow. We'll go to public comment now. So we're going to move into public comment. And so is there anybody in the audience who wanted to give public comment? You would have 3 minutes. And Mayor, please come forward. Mayor Hall, you know the drill, although I'm sure it's unusual for you to be on that side of the podium. But welcome. We'll have you introduce yourself and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Honorable Commissioners, Mayor Gary Hall, Town of Estes Park, 3 years ago, 80% or more of the population of Estes said, let's do this. If anything, it's even a higher percentage now. If you look at the addendum and the 22 comments, take a look at that and the support you've got. When Phil Weiser, the Attorney General, was here in Estes a couple months ago, the room was overflowing with folks supporting getting this deal done. So we've got high community support. I worked at the hospital for 18 years, ending in September 2023. Then I somehow became mayor. I blame it on my wife. Anyway, the operational side, I'm very intimately familiar with what happens in there. I got good medical care there. I've got great medical care from UC Health. So personally, I feel very good that the bar is not going to drop medically when we go to UC Health when this agreement is consummated. But there are some who have brought up issues, rightfully so, you should ask them about the transparency and the pieces. There are some who make it that UC Health is going to pillage this operation. I have an enormous amount of trust in UC Health, and so does the community from all the commentary that you've seen, or the vast majority of it. You can look at that trust that we've got that was built through the floods and the fires and what UC Health has done for us over that time. For 18 years, I worked there. For 22 years, I've lived in Estes Park. UC Health has been a great safety net, a great helper in all of the times of crisis and in times of calmness and peace. So it's been a wonderful relationship. This consummation of that relationship in a formal fashion is the best thing for the community. And so many members of the community will let you know that. I can tell you personally, I can tell you as a past employee of the hospital, I oversaw operations. I can tell you as the mayor and representing a great majority of the population, this is the best route to go. I urge the commissioners to approve it without further delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Is there anyone else in the audience who wanted to give public comment? Please come forward. Again, we'll have you state your name and you'll have 3 minutes.
So I'm William Brown, 270 Cyworth Road in Estes Park. I'm one of the people who wrote one of these letters to you. I support the affiliation with UC Health. However, there's a fundamental thing that I don't think's really been addressed, and that's the difference between public accountability of a nonprofit and public accountability of a hospital district that is supported by tax money. Next year, they're anticipating about $4.5 million of tax money going to support the hospital. And the board that the hospital has will not be a public body, will not be entitled to any information that a public body generally requires. There are only 2 things that in the agreements can provide for that, and I wish they did, but they don't. There are only 2 things in the way of information that is required to be provided under these agreements. One is an annual audit, which as a hospital it's required to have anyway. That's nothing new. And the second thing is this report of the use of the tax money over the past year. And that's it. No requirement of monthly financial statements, no reporting on things such as litigation against the hospital. And that's something that's really missing in this. Now, having said that, I have some encouragement that that UC Health will actually provide more information than it is legally required to do. It would only make sense that they would do so because they want the goodwill of the community to do so. But keep in mind that's all voluntary, it's not required. And I think a mistake is being made if we permit this to go forward without a plan for public accountability. I understand it's probably not within your purview from this service plan. I get that. But I would just hope that there are other arrangements between the county and the hospital district. I suspect there are intergovernmental agreements in force. I don't know what they are, but with intergovernmental agreements, you have a right to require public disclosure of whatever information you think is in the public's interest and legally required to be disclosed. So with that, I wish you well, and I appreciate the service you've done. I think you will approve this, as I think you probably are required to do so. But please keep in mind the issue of what requirements they are under to give the information to the Park Hospital District that it is then legally required to provide to its constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anyone else in the audience that wanted to give public comment? Please come forward.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jennifer McClellan. That's spelled McLellan. I am a general surgeon at Estes Park Health currently, and I'm also the chief of the medical staff. In addition, I'm a resident of Estes Park. I just wanted to make sure the commissioners know that I represent the medical staff, which is the physician and providers at Estes Park Health. And the vast majority, I would say just about 100% of us are for this affiliation. We see all of the positives that will come from this, and we are very excited to start working with UC Health in moving forward and continuing to improve the medical care at our hospital and for our community. I'd like to speak as a resident as well. I have a lot of trust in the UC Health system, and I see that it's going to be wonderful as a patient as well to receive health care at our hospital. Commissioner Kafalis, you mentioned trust, and I think that can be a difficult topic sometimes. Our community sees a big healthcare system coming to our small town where we've had a lot of control over it. And we're going to lose some of that control. I think that causes people some fear. But I can tell you personally, I've been working closely with the UC Health members that have been starting to talk with us. We haven't been able to get into too many details until we know that this is moving forward for sure. But every interaction I've had has been incredibly positive. I think the UC Health people that work there, they are excited and want to work directly with us to continue improving the medical care in our community. So that's all I had to say. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all as well.
Thank you, Dr. McClellan. Is there anyone else who wanted to give public comment this afternoon? Ryan, let's check online.
If there are any members of the public online who would like to speak on this issue, please use the raise your hand function or *9 now. There are no hands raised.
Okay. We'll give one last call in the audience. Is there anybody else who wanted to give public comment?
Commissioner, we do have someone online now.
Okay. We'll move to the person online then.
Adams, you now have permission to speak. Please unmute yourself and you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm a medical doctor, and
I'm sorry. Can you introduce yourself first before you begin speaking? Thank you.
I'm Mark Adams, MD, medical doctor, do geriatrics locally. I live in Estes Park, and I understand that the mill levy tax, which I think is a significant amount of money, is from this agreement will not be overseen by our healthcare board. The board members of the current board are totally outvoted on the corporate board by UCH. Our board will be able to appoint 2 members or subject 2 members, but the 3 members from the community, I see nothing to protect us from them being shills or have a financial interest in UCH. That makes 2 from UCH and 3 from the community that are all in bed with the UCH, and our board will have no say in anything. I am unclear with how they will oversee how the mill levy is spent, number one. Number 2 is I understand that the mill levy is set for 50 years and that can't be changed. It can't be increased, but I wonder if the voters would be able to decrease it if they were dissatisfied with UCH. I have lots of patients that I work with from UCH. I think the going forward is great with UCH, as do most of the people that I talk to that are unhappy about this agreement. But the fact is that the terms are abominable. I'm really upset that we've given away a hospital and negotiated from a term of abject desperation. So the terms are unhappy, but UCH would be a great partner if we're able to keep them in check and still manage our local medical care. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Is there anyone else online who wanted to give public comment? Nope,
There are no other
no
hands.
hands raised. All right, last opportunity in person. All right, then we will close public comment, bring it back to the commissioners. Oh, actually, we'll call Mr. Snow. You're welcome to come back up and give a rebuttal from anything you heard, and we'll give you 5 minutes for that.
Thank you. Just real quick, I would disagree with the idea that we're giving this away. No one else is going to pay off our $10 million of debt. I mean, that's compensation to the district to have the debt paid off by UC Health. Plus, there's a $20 million capital commitment over the next 10 years. That is a form of consideration for this transaction, along with the commitment that we've talked about to maintain licensure, to continue to operate a hospital, meeting all the licensure requirements and Medicare critical access hospital requirements. So to say that this was given away, I think is a misstatement, and I wanted to correct that.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Bring it back to the commissioners for any questions that you might have. Commissioner Shannock McNally?
I don't think I have any questions. I think our criteria and scopes and purview are fairly narrow and prescribed, and so I think that's kind of where the rest of my questions would have come from. I'm glad that we were given an opportunity, Madam Chair, to at least share some of the public's questions from the emails received. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kafalis, any questions? Doesn't look like there are any questions, so thank you for everyone who spoke today. We will move into deliberation then. Commissioner Kafalis, would you like to begin?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Since you asked, sure. So let's see. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone who has participated here in person, certainly online. I mean, this process that we go through is strengthened when more folks participate. I think the question at hand is the Board of County Commissioners whether or not to approve the material modification of the service plan. And, based on the discussion, that is something I can support. It is my opinion, based on the information presented, based on what we've read, the public testimony, that the matters of transparency and accountability are part of this proposal. I would seriously encourage the stakeholders, the entities that are looking at this merger, to do what else they can do above and beyond what is required by licensure, above and beyond what may be required by the Department of Local Affairs, which I think oversees special districts. I just think it's really critical that you all really address that as best as you can, even above and beyond what's been stated tonight. I think it was Dr. McClellan. It was an interesting point that you made, Doctor, regarding the matter of trust. I hadn't really thought about it. That it's easy when somebody new comes into town, although there's been a relationship for a long time, but a bigger system taking over a rural hospital, it's natural perhaps for folks to react and say, "Oh my, what's going to happen here?" So I think that's a valid and useful observation that we should pay attention to. I think it's critical that the medical staff is largely in support. A lot of the input that we've gotten is largely in support. And of course, at the same time, Mr. Brown, William, Bill, I think he's still here somewhere. Oh, there he is. Again, it gets back to my point about what can we do above and beyond in terms of annual reports and making sure that the UC Health is a good steward of the mill levy dollars, the taxpayer dollars. So I will support the motion before us to approve of this collaboration, and I believe I've spoken more than enough.
Thank you, Commissioner Cafalas. Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start by, I first want to thank our staff for navigating an unusual a job as county commissioners. I love my job, and I was just saying this to someone today, and I hadn't really thought about this meeting this afternoon. This job provides almost every day something unique and different, and I'm certainly not bored, and I love it, every second of it. But I want to just thank you all, and I want to also include Lorenda Volker and William Rousseau and all the folks who helped navigate this very important process that's just prescribed through state statute. And I want to thank the UC Health and Mr. Snow and the Estes Park Health District, everyone involved, for coming up today and being here in person, and also to work together as a team in the clerk's office and others, because this is also part of the building trust, is having this clear and process and making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and having this process and how it's spelled out in state statute, following it to the letter, is another way of building trust and making sure folks know that we all have had eyes on it and when you have conversations. And I was up in Estes Park when the Attorney General came. I sat next to you, Mr. Mayor, and listened to folks' community's feedback and understanding, what are the concerns from the community, which was again about trust. I appreciate and McClellan. Oh, great! I have a phobia of butchering people's names, and so I overthink it. I really do. I do think this is the big theme of the day: is trust, and trust really is a feeling, and you have to nurture and develop that feeling. Sometimes a feeling of reliance on someone or something's integrity and honesty, and that they'll be there in your time of need, or that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And really, that feeling of trust is a core element of our social relationships and our community connectedness, is that we have that level of trust, and that's based on these, again, beliefs of integrity and dependability and confidence. And I think, and the way a trust is a way to hold a community together, and especially healthcare is really a right, and to make sure that we have quality healthcare for all, whether you're in a metro area or urban area, or up in a very special area like the Estes Valley, which can be social isolating. I was up there 3 days. I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You all know, Mayor, and then I saw you came down to my neighborhood after I had been up in your neighborhood. So I just wanted to talk about that level of trust and how that's important to do that and to strengthen those relationships, because when in time when we have hospitals closing and emergency care shrinking and critical hospitals closing across the country and rural healthcare being in true jeopardy, it is kind of something that we all should be worried about, because I do think having rural communities, especially such a unique community as Estes Park and the Estes Valley, that even though it only has about 7,000 residents, it has 4.5 million people drive through there. And so that drives a need for healthcare, but that also drives a need for a really robust and thriving community that's connected. We have teachers and nurses and doctors and law enforcement and hospitals and nurses and all these folks that need to be there to really serve their communities effectively, and the visitors that we welcome through the Estes Valley every year. We all love that area, and I call it my beloved park that I love to hike the 100 miles on. it's really important to know that we need essential healthcare services. So, in a time when we see other things shrinking, I think seeing such a dedicated group of individuals through the board, and to also, I know I'm going on, but I just want to talk to the people about this trust thing to make so the public understand that we do take that seriously. But I think seeing as long as that process that was spelled out, the long discussions and history, and looking at how you could keep this hospital open and keeping it running with as much services as possible is so important, key for the community, especially since it's been evacuated, and the town's been evacuated. We have natural disasters, but also we just want that area. It's so near and dear to everyone's heart and to all the visitors that come. It's an important economic driver and for economic stability. So there's a lot of key functions of why hospitals are more so important. But the biggest thing is that we take care of people, and hospitals take care of all. They take care of everyone. And people can show up at the hospital and get the care they need. And we know hospitals are going to really be important to help with preventative care and take care of folks before they need to come in for fairly devastating diagnosis or emergency care. So I think that's really important, that I am encouraged that there was a lot of due diligence along the way and a lot of dedicated people who really cared about their community, that worked very hard to try to find the best way forward. It's unique because it has the hospital district and the taxing dollars that the taxpayers have chosen to tax themselves to support this district. I see by the numbers and the voting that this is overwhelmingly supported, and I do think that is unique. So I'm hoping that the hospital and the hospital board and those involved with the continued progression of this endeavor, that you'll maybe listen and hear to the folks that have concerns and about the transparency and accountability, and that you'll think about that word trust. I think to actively do things to build and to strengthen that trust that's already there. UC Health has a fantastic reputation. They're doing some amazing, state-of-the-art, innovative, cutting-edge things here in Larimer County, and Medical Center of the Rockies, and PV. I think we're going to a ribbon cutting for PVH here soon for an important behavioral health wing. There is lots of ways they're leading in the industry and doing what they can to provide the services needed for the community in so many ways, and do a lot of things to support the community in lots of nonprofit ways. So I think this is a great way to partner and take care of folks. And again, I go back to the criteria. That's all we have. I just wanted to make that commentary. So that's why it's a long commentary, but just really important about building trust, because especially for the Estes Park, has had areas where they maybe have thought people aren't listening, and I wanted to make sure I made those comments. But for me, the criteria, is this as because the district has a license with CDPHE, and it only really has those two subsections in the Colorado Revised statutes that are deemed satisfied. This means we're not tasked with evaluating the merits of the district proposed amendment, only focusing on those four criteria. And I do believe those four criteria have met. And so since that is our purview and our narrow scope in this hearing, Madam Chair, I think I can certainly vote and support this this task in front of us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you to everyone who came out this afternoon to speak on this item. I think we had good public comment that listed out some of the concerns that people in the community have expressed, although it is true that dozens of people wrote in support of this model and the acceptance of this service plan. So really great to have the history of the hospital and the hospital district. I think that history is important. It was founded to, provide healthcare in the community with public dollars, and that is a strong tradition that we need to continue. And Commissioner Shattuck McNally spoke about the importance of rural hospitals, but a lot of the written comments that we received were really concerned about the sustainability without this partnership. And so, but I do appreciate the fact that people talked about the transparency of public dollars. It's something that we're concerned about as commissioners. We're tasked with doing a good job with the public dollars that we receive and being fiscally responsible with those dollars. And so, I know that there will continue to be the board. There'll be two boards, and just wanted to remind folks that if if there are issues that they need to resolve, they would not come before this board, but they would come before the public board or Department of Local Affairs. So if there are concerns that happen in the future, those are the boards that would be appropriate to petition if there were some malfeasance or questions about how dollars were spent. That being said, we are here today focused on procedural compliance, and our criteria list is pretty small. It's largely was the application turned in appropriately, was the meeting noticed, and is there a license from CDPHE? And all those things are a yes. So we do not have a lot within our purview. Furthermore, I think that this is, this will be a good thing for the people of Estes Park. The people of Estes Park wanted it, as referenced by the vote in 2023 of 80%, which you pretty much can't get 80% of people to agree on very much these days. So there certainly is a desire for this in the community. So with that, I will be voting yes on this petition for approval of the Health Service District Plan modifications, and I will ask Commissioner Kafalis to make the motion on that.
Oh gosh, there it is. I move that the Board of County Commissioners approve the petition for approval of Health Service District Service Plan modifications.
Thank you, Commissioner. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this
Thank
item?
you.
Please go ahead, Commissioner.
Just two comments that I think are relevant and should be reflected in the public record. One is, and it's been spoken to, I suppose, but it's been suggested by some of the public comment that we could require certain conditions of approval, and we cannot do that. So I want to make that clear. Our focus is very specific here. The second point I wish to make is I suppose it's another shout out for UC Health. One way or another, I've been working with that institution for the last 20 years, and I have always found that relationship to be a good relationship and a relationship of integrity. So I just want to explain, I just want to reinforce that UC Health is a private nonprofit. They do a lot of community benefit work, uncompensated care, a variety of things, and those are all tremendous needs. So I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will add that the UC Health has a $20 million commitment to capital, to providing more capital resources in the community of Estes Park for the hospital, too. So with that, we have a motion on the table. Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. That is the only business to come before this board today. And so at 4:22, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.